Order the revenue neutral rate hearing for USD 345 Siemens School Districts. Need to adopt the agenda, please.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Moved,
Second.
seconded. All in favor, raise a hand and say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Revenue neutral rate hearing. Do I need to?
All right.
Nice.
So, a couple of months ago, we came to you guys when we were building our budget and asked if you guys would approve at a max R&R levy of 51.966. After completing our budget last month and bringing it to you, we were able to bring that down to 51.466, which is our continued promise to try to keep that steady through the community to help our board and community as we promised. So at this time, we ask that you hear from
Lisa was what 466 last year's?
Yes, I'm sorry.
What's this year's?
51.452.
Perfect.
Sorry, we asked for a max of 51.966. We've budgeted 51.452, which is lower than last year's 51.466. So at this time, we ask that you guys hear from the community and then approve the R&R if you choose to.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Have to read this.
Just ask if there's anybody who would like to speak first.
Do we have anybody that would like to speak at the revenue neutral rate hearing? Take that as a no.
Maybe the resolution.
Okay,
Neutral.
Oh. this one. This.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so I have to read this.
Yep.
Okay.
Sign it to Chris because he was a good reader there.
I'll give him the month off from reading.
Okay.
Resolution number 00908-2025-2, a resolution expressing the property taxation policy of USD 345 Siemens School District with respect to exceeding the revenue neutral tax rate for financing the annual budget for 2025-2026, whereas KSA 79-2988 provides that a levy of property taxes to finance the 2025-2026 budget of USD 345 exceeds the revenue neutral rate tax rate to finance the 2025-2026 budget of USD 345 be authorized by a resolution, and whereas the Board of Education of USD 345 held a hearing on September 8th, 2025, allowing all interested taxpayers desiring to be heard an opportunity to give oral testimony, and whereas the Board of Education of USD 345, having heard testimony, still finds it necessary to exceed the revenue neutral rate. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of USD 345 that the 2025-2026 budget with a levy of property taxes exceeding the revenue neutral rate tax rates calculated for 2025-2026 as adjusted pursuant to KSA 79-2988 is hereby adopted. Is that it?
That's it. And then it'll be a roll call vote. So Candace will run the vote.
Do you
I need a second and a.
want to say the motion as it's written?
Oh, I can move it? Okay. I make a motion to adopt the resolution to approve exceeding the revenue neutral rate by roll call vote based on revenue or based on review of the building needs assessment and state assessments that were provided to the board and evaluated by the board.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Wait,
Yeah.
Further discussion?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So just to make sure, so we're saying that we are going to raise our mill rate.
No, we are
Okay,
not
Way
raising
that-
that mill rate.
the way that
Okay.
reads,
It
it
was
sounds that
super
way.
confusing. I
All
agree with Kyle.
Yeah. Yeah, what will happen is depending on the assessed valuation, we are actually asking for a lower mill rate than we asked for last year.
Right,
However, depending on what assessed valuations do, that means it could go up. And in fact, it probably will go up some based on not our mill rate, but people could pay more taxes if their assessed valuation goes
If
up.
their valuation.
Yes.
Right, okay.
If their valuation goes down, it would go down more than that amount there.
but we're voting to raise our mill levy.
We're voting not to raise the mill levy.
Okay,
But we are understanding, we are not keeping this lower than the revenue neutral rate, which would be lower than that.
Say that again.
We are not keeping it at the revenue neutral rate. So there's a calculation based on estimated assessed valuation that would allow us to have the exact same funding as last year, which would mean we wouldn't be able to give raises or pay any of the increased costs that we're seeing with that. But the rate of taxation that this board is what's you're in charge of, you're saying you're going to keep it steady or lower. And that happens in the budget hearing. This one just says we're not keeping it down at the revenue neutral rate, which would be a decrease in about 2 mils, if I remember right. Lisa might have better numbers on that than I do.
Because true revenue neutral is we don't spend any more money.
Correct.
I mean,
It's not that we don't tax.
or we don't change our mill levy, but we
Right.
don't spend any more money as a true revenue neutral.
Correct.
It-
And those are different only based on
Sure.
assessed value.
Yeah, so it's based on each homeowner's valuation. If they pay more, it's not based on us.
What was last year's mill, revenue neutral? rate?
Is it 51.466 last year? And this year is 51.452. Yep.
Thank you. Any
On the
more?
estimate,
What?
on the estimate.
On the estimate. Last year, we submitted 51.466 and ended up 51.428 or something around that. So
So
usually the assessed valuation estimate is a little bit off.
So with us, you and your staff doing a great job on looking at our budget, making sure we cut some areas.
Yes.
It worries me a little bit that we've done that. Our enrollment is declining. We're gonna hear here in a little bit that is projected to keep going that way.
Mhm.
And we need to make sure we aren't increasing money when we don't need to. I understand
Agreed.
this. I understand that some things are gas bill or what others, our cost of operations has gone up.
Yeah.
Our salaries. I mean, everything we do has gone up.
Yeah.
But we still should be able to live within those mill levies.
Yes, correct. And we will. And one of the things that we are doing is we have that plan to make sure that we're fiscally responsible and ensure that we're right sized for the student population that we have.
Any more discussion?
So I still want to make sure.
Yes. I do too.
What, you want to talk now?
Go ahead.
So a vote no is,
Saying you want to go to the revenue neutral rate of assessing whatever would bring in the exact same number of dollars as last year and lower our mill rate about, I want to say 2 mils, but I haven't looked at
Okay.
that. I'm just taking a
Right.
wild guess. And so a vote yes is to allow us to exceed the revenue neutral rate. And then it's actually in the next, when you vote for the budget, that you vote for the actual mill rate. This doesn't vote for the actual mill rate, it just decides whether you
that's
keep it,
why I was.
Okay.
keep it under the revenue neutral rate or allow it to not go under the revenue neutral rate. And the way that resolution is stated is in statute. It's the way it has to be stated, but it doesn't set what your mill rate is. It doesn't say you're gonna keep it flat. Somebody wanted to raise their mill rate, they'd have to do the same exact thing we're doing. It's in the budget hearing that we say we don't want to raise our mill levy.
So a vote yes is really on this is just saying
It's above that lower,
We're able to
that
exceed it.
it's not decreasing, yes. Well, no, it's saying it's not going to be below the revenue neutral rate, which is a decreased mill levy.
okay, I got you.
And all this is based on estimates of appraised value.
Correct. And our county does a fabulous job, but they also underestimate just a hair, it seems like, at least every time that I've done it. So we've always had a mill rate come in just a little bit lower than
Right.
what we've set.
So we're voting, okay, yes for this, and then
Next
If we-
month it'll be.
Later, you're gonna vote for the precise exact mill.
Okay.
last year, we voted yes to raise the revenue neutral rate, but
Yes.
then we didn't end up needing to.
Yes, you did.
We did.
Yes, the revenue neutral rate, if you say we're gonna go underneath that, it is a decrease in a mill rate. Is how that would end up. And we're asking to keep a flat mill rate. So we do need
So
to
exceed the revenue neutral. rate.
So a vote on this, yes, is really saying we'll keep it the same.
Keep it flat. We can keep it flat.
That our overall budget might be higher.
The number of
It will
dollars
be
might be
higher.
higher, but the
Mhm.
rate at which we're taxing is not.
Okay. So
Technically.
We are gonna have a budget hearing that will have public participation as well. Okay, but that would be a perfect time. I apologize.
It's gonna be in like 5 minutes,
Yeah, literally 2 or 3.
if that works.
Any more discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, Candace?
Diana Brodeen,
Yes.
Braden Warner,
yes.
Donna McGinty,
Yes.
Christy Weiler,
Yes.
Michelle Caudell,
Yes.
Chris Travis,
Yes.
Tom McNorton.
Yes.
Alright, it's like motion passes
Close the revenue neutral.
and we will adjourn the revenue neutral rate hearing. And then we will call the budget hearing. Need an adoption of the agenda, please?
Madam President, I move to adopt the agenda for our budget meeting.
It's been moved and seconded. Thank you. All in, or any discussion? All in favor, raise a hand and say aye. Aye. Pose same sign.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, now we are open for anybody from the public that would like to come speak. Okay, come on up.
You're not,
These people don't bite.
Bye.
you're not gonna bite your head off.
Not any worse than your students, dude.
You're not, I don't think that'll get you. It'll just get your audio.
I just had a question, just there was a breakdown of it. I saw the capital outlay and then it was the I can't remember the other one, but there was a Seaman one. What was that? Revenue neutral. There was a three.
General.
Oh.
Yes, general capital outlay and then just Seaman. What was the difference between the three categories on that?
Yep.
Seeing as how there was quite a lengthy list this year. I was just curious, you know, as a taxpayer, what all that's gonna mean for us if all of the areas in our county or in our district are hitting us with these revenue neutral things. How's that gonna impact us?
So for the school district, the first thing that all school districts levy by state statute is the 20 mils off the top. It's a lower assessed valuation. They get to 75,000 is taken off your house's value before they do the calculation. But that 20 mils goes directly to the state. It's not actually a local tax. It's a tax to the state, and that helps. It doesn't completely fund with the state aid that we get. But that's everybody in the state does that. The second one is our local option budget. And our local option budget is used to be where local communities could add. Now you're actually required to have a local option budget. Our district has had a local option budget of 33% of the general fund for years. And so that's the second one. The third one, and actually probably that's the first one. The second one is bond and interest. That pays our mortgage payment, which is basically right now the middle school is we're paying that off still. And then the last one is capital outlay, which pays mostly for rooftops, HVAC, and other small projects around the district. But those have to be spent on, those have to be spent on what they're assessed for, which is bond and interest payments and capital outlay projects of some sort.
So the Seaman is what's that Seaman?
I don't know. I remember looking, do you have your tax bill?
This is.
Yeah, perfect.
I guess I understand the general. fund.
General capital outlay, and then the others are Seaman, LOB and bond and interest are together.
They've merged them together in
The
one.
one that doesn't have a title.
Yes. So those are together, bond and interest payment along with our local option budget together.
Have their own revenue neutral.
Yeah, technically,
Okay.
but the state combines really, as long as you don't have to stay under each of them individually, as long as the total would be under, you'd be revenue neutral.
Anybody else? All right, we will adjourn. Now. The regular school board meeting for USD 345, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Chris, why don't you start us off?
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any public comment, Candace? No public comment?
Crickets.
I just need an adoption of the agenda, please.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise a hand, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Learning without limits. I think we are planning to have the SEA come up and introduce our Teachers of the Year.
Mary.
Thank you, Miss Mary. And if you don't know about the association, we have a Seaman Educator Association here, and they do a bunch of wonderful things for our staff. They advocate for teachers' needs. They foster collaboration between the district. They promote professional growth. Let's just say they have tireless support, right? And they ensure all of our professional staff that their voices and perspectives are heard and valued. So we appreciate you being here.
Thank
And
you,
putting
President
this
Christy
together.
Weiler. That was lovely and well spoken. Tonight, I get the privilege of introducing to the board our Teacher of the Year candidates. It was a real privilege for me this year to get to be part of the team that selected the Teachers of the Year. Last year, I just came off of my tour time, which was great. And I hope that our winners go on to do that as well when they get that opportunity. So I don't know how you guys want to do this. I'm gonna say names.
Building and then we can.
We can do by building and then we'll announce the winners. And they've already received their plaques.
Be
So-
surprised.
Nope, not anymore. The game is afoot now. So from North Fairview is Kelly Ginden. So Kelly, do
Yeah, you come-
stand- yeah, go ahead and stand up.
Front.
Come on up, Kelly.
You have to be up here.
From Northern Hills is Kimberly Stoffer. From West Indianola, look at that. We didn't even come in alphabetically last this time. Is Connor Emer. From Logan, Holly Wendorf. From Elmont, Tara Yost. From Mathis Early Learning Center is Kayla Shaughnessy. Seaman Middle School's representative is Jeff Shue. And from our high school is Anna Kennedy. Oh, thank you, guys. And our two winners, our elementary Teacher of the Year is Kelly Ginden this year. All winner is, or our secondary is Anna Kennedy. You and you'll be getting paperwork soon. It's so much fun. So we want to thank all of you for all of your hard work. And I think the board is going to give you some certificates, and Candace is probably going to take a bunch of pictures. So get your smiles on.
There we go, hide over here.
And thank you, Board of Education, for continuing to support the Teacher of the Year program, because it is truly one of those times in a teacher's career where you get recognized, both your peers, the community, and the district. And it is a really great opportunity to broaden yourself as an educator. So congratulations, all of you. You're all winners, all of you.
And they want paperwork. Good job.
And they got paperwork.
Act like you like each other.
Squeeze.
Trying to see.
I was right between their arms.
Hey, thank you, Mary, for doing that. We appreciate it. Moving on, superintendent remarks.
Thank you. I'm going to be brief. I'm very excited to have us hear the demographic study. I think that allows us to prepare for the next 5+ years down the road as we look to do that. It has been, for the most part, a really smooth start of the year. I hesitate only because, you know, we've had a tragedy in one of our buildings, and but what happened out of that is watching our staff support each other, support the kids in their school, support the family. And the thing that it brought to my mind was our graduate profile, where we have skills to make them college and career ready, community ready, and life ready. And what I kept seeing was how our teachers, our staff, our principal demonstrate some of those skills to really be life ready and community ready, and make it through a very difficult situation for one of our schools.
Thank you. President remarks. We received some highlights from all of our buildings, and I wanted to highlight some good things that are happening in Seaman Middle School. So Mr. Johnson told us that the Seaman Middle School has a new journalism and media class, and they got to attend a training at Jostens for creating the yearbook, which I thought was really cool. And they get to also contribute to the middle school Facebook account. So I thought that just needed a little highlight. And Mr. Shu just left because there was another one about him. Mr. Shu, our social studies teacher, was selected to contribute a veteran profile on a Vietnam War veteran from Kansas for National History Day's Silent Hero website. And I thought that was really cool. So you should share that when that actually gets published. So those are my highlights, and I'm super excited that it's fall. Football has started. We didn't do so great the first game, but you know, homecoming is this month. So a lot of things are happening around our district. Any other board member want to add on?
I don't have one quite that long, but when the board went on our yearly visit to the buildings, I was challenged to come read to kindergartners at Elmont. And so I took Miss Johnson up on it and went and read to kindergarten. It was so fun. Don't ever not accept one of those invitations. So now I'm going to be a monthly visitor to her class. Read her kids.
A librarian.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they'll ask me, are you a librarian? I said, no, I just like books. And she said, well, you look like a librarian. They'll tell you when you walk in there.
You're so honest.
Yeah, it was fun.
Very awesome. Thanks for sharing, Dawn. Any other board member have an update or anything that they would like to say? we will move forward to our demographic study.
You are powered on.
He's not on.
Oh, never mind. You're not there yet.
All right, I pushed the wrong button. All right, hey, good evening. Pleasure to be here. Glad I'm on the agenda where you have me. This is Brad and I were talking. It's my wife's birthday and can take her to dinner. I said if she comes up, I'll say what her real age is. But if she doesn't and she didn't, I would say what her real age was. Not going to do that. Right? This is being recorded. But hey, so with the person that's kind of tracking along with what we have here, if we go to the next page, it's a little bit about RSP. So I want you to understand with this study, our company, we exclusively work with school districts all through the Midwest, and we have a very huge list of all the work we do just in Kansas. And so that should give you an understanding of the information we're going to talk about tonight, what it means, and that it does mean something, and you can use it to how you plan. And the numbers don't lie, they guide us in a direction that we need to follow. So we go to the next page. In this report, I think there's roughly about 70, 80 pages. I'm limiting myself to, I think, 15 minutes with you, and that'll include some questions. So I'm just going to hit the highlights of this. So when you go back and look at this final reports, this page starts to clue you in on pages that we think are insightful or will help you understand some of the big moves that are occurring in your district. If we go to the next page, this is going to start to help you understand how this report is laid out. And so there's really 4 parts. Part 1 is about the enrollment demographics. Part 2 is developments and growth trends. Part 3 is the projections. And then part 4 is some next steps. Lots of other information in the appendix. Next page. This is really, once I get this, you can say, Rob, stop talking. And you're done. But no, there's more stuff. But in general, as we look out into the future, over this 5-year projection period, we have you declining by about 250 students. And you can see the breakdown of elementary, middle school, and high school over the next 5 years of where that change is occurring. And so it's decreasing across all 3 grade levels. We looked at the enrollment and based that with the capacity of the buildings. So you'd understand how is that related to some sort of capacity number of the number of kids that could potentially be in those buildings. And we have no issues of overcapacity. In fact, we have underutilization challenges. We'll come back to that when we get to the numbers. There's key variables that we look at here. Won't list all of them off, but we're going to touch base a little bit on some of the key things that are driving what we see here. Some of it's live births. Some of it is related to our developments or lack thereof, or how do we have what we call subdivision life cycles? So people moving out, people moving in, do they have kids, right? So if we talk to different people, they have different lenses. So if I talk to someone from the county, they might say, hey, we're having more people move into this area of the county. When we talk about what we're seeing for kids, we're not seeing that. And we'll show you that. There's sometimes a disconnect. Remember, their entity is looking from 0 to death. We're primarily focusing on 5 to 18-year-olds. So something a little bit different. So that's kind of the executive summary. If we go to the next page, it gets into part 1. The following page, there'll be some maps. So the first thing is our district is really large, right? And a good portion of it is unsewered. So on the bottom left-hand side, you'll see the entire district. We zoom in more to this southern part of your district where we have the most action, most students, different things are happening. So this gives you the context of a visual, geography visual. Go to the next. We have our elementary boundaries, our 5 elementary buildings. So you can see them by a color of what they represent. We'll go to the next page. This is a map that starts to get into how we model. And so there's several lines on here. The yellow line represents census blocks. That's important because that gives us access to not only the 2020 census data, but changes that may have been happening in those census blocks to understand, is it increasing, decreasing, all those wonderful things. There's green lines, which represent our planning areas. So we break them smaller than census blocks. We try to get, if reasonably statistically we can, to things like a subdivision, mobile home, multifamily, duplexes, that type of thing. So dots represent year builds. So again, just a lot of visuals of how we take data, aggregate it, so you can have some sort of ability to know what that means. The next page is a little bit daunting if you're not a math person. And so just know there's different ways we look at this statistically. It's a statistical analysis of your district. Typically, we're going to be 98 to 100% accurate in what that forecast is because of all the variables. We'll go to the next page. This is really what's happening in the model. So for instance, when we give you a likely RSP forecast, don't give you a low, mid, and high. We give you what we think the enrollment's going to be. If I give you a low and a high, you get an alligator mouth. The farther out we go, statistical error gets larger, so the mouth opens bigger. So we're telling you where we think things are going to go based on our reputation, credibility of looking at things through the lenses that we do. When you look at this page, this helps you understand if the model is under forecasting or over forecasting. What are the variables that are happening that would make that occur? So for instance, I think unofficially right now, we're about 40 students lower than what we've projected. So we got a little bit of time, September 20th. So we'll see how the data gets cleaned up. We'll talk about what that may mean for your projections moving forward. As we move to the next page, this is an important piece to what's really happening, not only in your district, but all the districts across Kansas and really for the most part in the entire United States. It's live births. So when we look at this information, the way we've aggregated this is the black line on that top graphic shows the number of live births that we have each year. So this is equated to the mom's address, which goes in to have the baby born. What address is that? And so when we look at this at the county level, back in 2015, we had a little almost 2,300 live births. If you could follow that black line to 2023, we're under 1,900. So roughly 400 less live births. That means 5 years later, we potentially have fewer kindergartners, right? And so when you look at the green and orange bar, that's saying, hey, if we have a market share that's similar to what we've had on the low side or high side, this is where we potentially would sit if we myopically just looked at that lens. The bottom visual, this gets at what's the health of the younger kids and what that might mean as they move into being able to be served by the district. So we know that things are changing, right? We get to some slides with in-migration, out-migration. We know that babies that were born here 5 years ago, they're not here 5 years later. We have other people that move into the district. They weren't born here, so they're not in that number. So this is just one of those lenses. Fewer live births, potentially, likely, fewer kindergartens 5 years later. We'll go to the next page. This gives you a summary of the by grade number of students going back to 2010-11, all the way through this last school year of 24-25. I focus on a couple things on this table. I look at the senior class and the previous year. And so in this case, if we had 285 in the 23-24 school year, and then I look at last year's incoming kindergarten class, 240. So we gotta make up 45 kids if we were to stay neutral in the number of students that we serve, just with exiting seniors and incoming kindergartners. Remember, I just told you kindergartners, we have a smaller pool to happen. So it's 240. Is that a reasonable number? We'll come back to that. Next page. This starts to get at some of that same data, but what's happening is these students age year in and year out. So as I go from kindergarten to first grade, second to third grade, what's happening? So this table is really fascinating because there's a couple things you can look at. If I go across the row, what's been happening in that school year. If I go up the columns, I get a sense of what's happening in those grades. So let's look at a few things that kind of jump out here. So typically I see in most districts from 8th to 9th grade, we have a bounce, right? So that would be parochial, private, homeschool kids that come in, right? So that usually we see a bounce. It's kind of a small bounce. Some years more than others. Sometimes we have 10, 11 kids. But overall, one of the things that happens really the last 2 years is we see a lot of red numbers in those grades. So that means we lost kids. And so as we start to model this, if all of a sudden you start to go up the column and you see more often than not, it's decreasing, the model is going to say we're going to see a decrease. If we see that there's some slight increases, the model is going to naturally say, hey, there'll be a bounce. So that's kind of how you look at this data here. Next page starts to really bounce into some of the things that I already told you about the senior class and incoming kindergarten class. And so really what you focus on that top graphic, the blue bar represents seniors and the candy cane striped column represents kindergartners or incoming kindergartners. So as we look to the future, we continually see that there's more seniors than incoming kindergartners. So again, we have to offset that. And how do we offset that? That's that cohort change. The bottom graphic helps you understand what's happening with enrollment. So we can start planning at the grade band level of elementary, middle school, and high school, what's occurring. So if you look at the red dashed line, as that decreases, that's going to have an impact in our middle school. And when you get out to 28, 29, you see it just like drops. And that's where we really start to see potentially some adjustments in the number of middle schoolers that will be in the middle school. If we went forward another 3-4 years, you'd start to see that at the high school. So again, this is those visuals to help you understand, hey, how are we surfing on this wave? We're kind of surfing down because it's declining enrollment. Next page. This is the migration. So this starts to tell some of our story, the movement of kids. And so we show you the last 3 years of what's been happening with in and out migration. Out migration, that's the green bars. That represents students that the previous year they were here, and then in the year that we're analyzing, they're not here. The orange bars represent the opposite. They're new to that particular school year. So if we could change one thing in what we see here, let me kind of give you what's happening. So if we look at the last year of 24-25, we had more outgoing elementary kids versus coming in. So 143 left, 107 in. So we naturally lost kids. If we look at the middle school this last year, 37 out, 26 in. Look at the high school, 59 out, 72 in. So we had a bounce, right? So there's something happening at the high school that's drawing more kiddos into our system. So when I look at this, if we could change one variable to change what our outlook is, it would be this out migration of elementary kids. If we could cut that in half or even 20%, we can get more in line with what the in migration is. We would start to have what I would say a stable enrollment. We don't see that happening, and there's a lot of variance to that. If we go to the next page, this starts to get at the out of district kids, right? So we have something new in Kansas, not new to RSP. We do a lot of work in Iowa, so we're very much familiar with open enrollments in between districts. But what we tried to understand here is what's been happening. We have 6 of the districts where we draw kids in. You can see Topeka 501 is where we get the greatest number of kids into our system. You can see what's been happening in the last 5 years. And so the bottom left-hand table kind of gives you, or graphic gives you, we were at 301 back in, we don't have the year on there, but that would be 6 years ago, 301 kids. Now it's down to 277. So if that's decline, right, everything I keep telling you is a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and all the little bits add to that summary page. Next page. Then here's some visuals. I won't spend a lot of time on here, but with this one, this just helps identify at that planning area, where are we seeing some enrollment change comparing 5 years ago to last year. Orange is an increase, green is a decrease. The next page gives you a visual of the density of students. So where are we seeing the clusters of students? And we got some pockets, right? We go out on 75, down on 24. The red areas are where we have the greatest density of students. So that's what's happening there. All of the conclusions on here, you've been hearing me talk about that on the next page. There's just not a lot of things just from the enrollment data that says, hey, we're going to see an increase. We'd have to see something with those variables that I just spoke about. So then the next thing we shifted to is what's happening really with 2 things. New development, and then what's happening with our existing housing that would be a subdivision life cycle. What's that regeneration of kids in those areas? So the way we started to look at this on page, we'll start there with this graphic. This is kind of that highlight view of how do we compare census population, which is the green line, to the building activity, which is the blue line, and then the enrollment change, which is the red line. And so is there some sort of correlation? And so this is where, gosh, it's all over the place. There's not a strong correlation of, hey, what's happening with our population? Census data would actually indicate we're losing people within our district boundary. So we're having fewer people in the community. We're seeing some development activity, a little bit, not a whole lot. You can see in the table the number of specific units, but yet you see we're trending where we have fewer kids. So something's happening with our housing inventory. How are we drawing kids? This is some light starts to be shed on that here on page 23. So we show you the 3 housing inventory types in your district. So the orange is going to be single family, the green is going to be our multifamily, and the blue is our mobile home units. And so we show you this from 15-16 through 24-25. Again, here's some of the story. If you look at the single family back in 15-16, we averaged 44 students for every 100 units. Here in this last year, it was down to 40. We look at our multifamily, it was 27, it's now 21. We look at our mobile home units, it was 34, it's now 33. And you can see over years, how's that tracked? That's the value of this analysis. You can see things with the different inventory type. So again, showing just yielding fewer. The next page gets into the visual table of what's happening in our 5 elementary buildings, and is it above or below the district average? So you get a sense now at that elementary level, what's happening with yield rates as it relates to the bottom row of each of those 3 inventories. So again, just kind of fascinating. So we go to the next page, giving a breakdown of those inventory types. Where do we see that? And so you can quickly see when we look at Logan, that's pretty much where the majority of our or our mobile home units are, right? So how does that relate to what we're seeing, tie it back to the number of units, what we're seeing for productivity of students that we get? Then the next series of pages really will get into some analysis, look at the legend, start to understand things. We do a yield rate analysis map of where we're yielding those students based on those planning areas. The next page gets into the year built inventory. So we have a lot of old inventory. And so we were trying to focus on when do we see people move in as people move out? So here's our challenge. Just briefly, if we look at interest rates, I know when I always go back, what was my interest rate on my house when I bought it 13 years ago? Well, I have like a 2.85 interest rate. Right now it's almost 7, right? It went down a little bit here in the last week. If I own a house, do I want to sell it and move to something else and give away what that interest rate savings is? Probably not. And that's why people are, guess what, staying in place longer. And so that impacts our ability to have cycle in, cycle out. So we're seeing longer stays. That is probably one of our big factors of when we look forward, we have to have a lower interest rate because we're not building enough inventory to bring in a lot of new people. So as we go to the next page, we have median home values. This is tied back to the county data set. Again, what's that value has an impact of what we might see for yield rates. The next page gets at the smattering throughout our district of where units are built. So all the dots represent colored or zoomed out pretty far, but there's 5 years of data there of different colors. You can see kind of sprinkled throughout. Then as we get to the next page, from touring the district, meeting with the planners, city planners, we started to highlight where are we seeing building activity when we started this study. So green was potentially current stuff, yellow stuff in 5 years, purple closer to 10 years. All of this is tied to the ability of whatever product is being sold that we can actually have a market. So how does that meet with interest rates being up and costs, how supply chain? We've seen kind of a slowdown in some of the units. Throw in things that are a political lightning rod of like immigration and how that's now impacting the ability of what inventory is now available. This map is tied to the next page where you can see the breakdown of the type of units, whether it's current, 5 years, 10 years, what type of development is it, the existing units in that development, remaining units that can be built in that development, and then what elementary boundary it's tied to. So again, all of this trying to understand if these things being developments build out, what could we see for number of students if we factor that into the model. All of the bullet points on the next page kind of covered. There's a couple positives here that there's some building activity is the big thing. Can it continue? We need more. We need to like triple, quadruple it to make up for some of the things with people just not moving out of their existing homes. So as we moved into the next final segment of the analysis piece, which is the projections. So this is where everything was leading to. So what's happening with enrollment? So this visual gives us a perspective of where we were going back to 13, 14, up through 24, 25, and you can see then we have a bar and then the 5-year projections. So as we look at this, last year we had almost 2,000 elementary students. We show by 2930 you'll be under 1,900. We look at your middle school, you're at 560 last year. We have you under 500 by 2930. We look at your high school, you're almost 1,200s. We have you at about 1,150. We get out to 2930. So overall for the district, we're at 3,750 down to about 3,500 students. We'll go to the next slide. I'll explain everything on page 35 on the following slide, because we try to break things out so you can understand things based on geography and based on the reality of where these kiddos are. So we have each of the facilities listed off the first page. On the next one as each of the elementary buildings plus our ELC. So Mathis ELC. We have what the district capacity is for those buildings. You can see the students that are being served. Then as we move to the right, you can see the enrollment for the past year shown 3 ways. And so the middle row for every building is reside. So do they actually reside in that boundary? The blue bottom row is attend. So when we look at that student data, where are they actually attending? Well, first building being the ELC, they're all at that building, right? And they serve the entire district. So that one's not a good example. I'll come back to giving you an example. The reside/attend is a subset of reside to actually reside and attend that building. So let's look at Elmont. So if we look here last year, we had 292 kids that resided in that boundary. And with 302 that actually attended. So they popped by 10 students. It's actually more than that. Of the 292, only 228 resided and attended that building as K6. So they grew from 228 to 302 from in migration of the other elementary buildings coming into that building. So what this starts to help us understand is there some special programming that's occurring in some of these buildings? Right. So we just had all the building teachers and we have building principals, what's happening in these buildings. So this gives us an understanding of that reside in the tens, where you see this shading, this starts to get at what we're seeing, how it relates to utilization. So where it's shaded in green, we're less than 70%. Why do I highlight 70%? Does anyone have a clue why I say 70%? I'll tell you what starts to happen. We start to get into situations of job sharing. So does the art teacher get split between buildings? Do we have the same resources like counselors, social workers? Are they split between buildings? Do we start sharing principals? These are starting to be the signs that we see in other districts where, hey, we can't do things the same way because now we're underutilized. Now, there's other ways to look at this. It's not all negative. It could be we want to use space a little bit differently. We have some districts where they change their wheel. So the wheel being the electives. So instead of it just being art, music, PE, let's say they add science. So we need a room for science. So they'll pull a room out for science. So capacity undulates for that. It can undulate by the type of students that we serve. Special education students might need different spaces. So when you look at this, this gives you a metric of what the capacity is. How does it relate to the number of kids? All of our buildings moving forward are either fine, where they're above 70%, or they would be below 70%. So there may be some conversations we have as it gets starting to be tied to budgets. So we go to the next page. This is our secondary buildings. I think the title says elementary, but secondary buildings. So again, we have the same thing with our middle school. We're already under 70% based on that 832 capacity. Just continues, right? I told you it starts to drop more as we move out. When we look at our high school, stays pretty stable, right? We're in the white, so it's efficiently run with what's happening in that building. So overall, you can see then the breakdown of elementary, middle school, and high school. Elementary, we're under 70% district-wide. Middle school, again, we have the one building, so it's under 70%. Then overall for the districts, as we get out to 28, 29, we're under 70% as a district with what that capacity currently is being established as. Next page. All of these conclusions, you've heard me say this through here, so I'm not gonna repeat all those elements. This gets to our next steps. That's my last page. We'll open up for maybe some other questions you may have, and we'll see what I can answer. Kind of left you with a few things. The data seems pretty stark with the direction that we're headed. And we're recommending that you'll want to keep watching this, whether it's a full or cursory study of like what we've done. You want to keep watching that. We have some districts, I'm up in Iowa where they're going to decline by like 1,000 students. Do you imagine? You want to keep Brad and I, we go back a long way, so we know we got to watch the enrollment. The next thing is that utilization. I kind of segued when I was talking. I said, hey, there's different ways we can look at how capacity is in our buildings. That it may not be that we're under 70%. We might be able to provide something different, better for the students on how we use our space. So that's not always a negative when you see it under 70%. The other piece is communication to the public, what's happening here and how you're trying to make some decisions, right? So we've been talking about budgets. This is that time of year. We're talking about budgets, talking about enrollment decline. What does this mean for our staffing? There's a lot of things that this report starts to segue into for some conversations. So that in a nugget is what your analysis is. Do you guys have some questions, comments, things that maybe I didn't quite explain so well, or more information that you need that we can provide to Brad?
What questions you have for Rob before we let him enjoy his wife's birthday? And then I will actually open it up for us to have a short discussion as well. But what do we need with Rob to be able to answer for you guys?
Thought it was very thorough. I looked through this in detail. It was just amazing, the data you show. Yeah, here we are.
Is there something that gives us a picture of what's happening in other districts in our area?
How we compare?
Yeah, comparison.
Detail.
Unless they had one of these done.
Okay.
And we may not have access to it, but Shawnee Heights has been relatively flat. I think when I got here 3 years ago, I think I remember them talking about needing to build because their elementaries were packed and they were overloaded and those types of things. And I don't know that that has gotten any worse, maybe relieved a little bit, but I don't know that for sure. Again, talking where I really don't have any expertise. Auburn Washburn, I believe they have decreased slightly, but not any more than like the birth rate. I think what you're seeing in those two districts is still some construction going on, especially in Auburn Washburn and some of those things. And I really don't know Topeka 501. I think they decreased, but I don't know that for sure.
I think you're going to be surprised by a lot of the headlines after September 20th. We might see for the first time Johnson County may have fewer public K-12 students, like a decline, like first time, like ever. It's a great possibility.
I think it's interesting that you told us that we need to build, but I'm thinking where in our district? I mean, if you've been in our district for a long time, you don't have a lot of spaces to put subdivisions and.
We probably have some spaces. The area behind, on 50th Street, that actually has been platted for homes.
50th and.
On 50th between Green Hills and Rochester. Seems odd because there are houses along the road,
Oh,
but
behind it?
behind those have been platted by Griffith
It's been plotted for a
a
long.
long
Yeah.
time.
Well, so is Cherry Creek South.
Yeah. A lot of our
They're so
upper
crowded.
county area where there's space does not have sewer.
Yeah.
And so not a lot of subdivisions want to build. I mean, you'll have individuals who will build a house and put septic, but you're not, the cost of running sewer is ridiculous. Because you run it that far, you're gonna have to put a pumping station in as well. So you're right, there's not a lot of space to build.
I feel like our housing, like the cost for like a new family to move in, brand new family is much higher than what they would want to spend. So
It
I
is.
feel like that is a hindrance for us too.
What other questions you have for Rob?
I don't think I have anything. It's very well done, very informative. Thanks
So much. Yeah.
Thank you, Rob.
You
I'll let
bet.
you go
Other
with-
questions?
Wife's
No, you're
birthday.
doing great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Then you're gonna say I'm like, shoot.
Wish her a happy birthday from us.
Have an extra piece of cake.
And never tell anybody how old she is.
I've been married long.
I was gonna say, she was 29 last time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, do want to open it up to your guys' comments and thoughts. I'm gonna pose a question. There's really a couple of ways we can go with this information. What I don't think is up for much discussion is that probably in the next 5 years, we will have fewer students than we have now. Or in the next 5 years, we'll have fewer students than we have now. And that is for all intents and purposes, because we don't have a lot of young families moving in. Birth rates have decreased. Our kindergarten classes are smaller than what we're graduating. We're still graduating classes around 300, and our kindergarten classes have been in the mid 200s for quite some time, getting into even below mid 200s. So there are two ways you can look at this. We're decreasing students, and nothing we do is going to have an immediate impact on that. But my job is to look 5 to 10 years down the road in a lot of cases. And so when I look 5 to 10 years down the road, I think we're at a point to make a decision. We can circle the wagons, do the things we've been doing, always done, and be as efficient as possible in doing it. Because fewer students indicates fewer dollars coming in the door. The tax rate that we talked about earlier is a small portion. It's a portion, but it is not the majority of the funding that our district gets. The majority of our funding comes from the state, and it is based on per pupil allocations. So that is the bulk of our funding comes from that. So we know that the funding will follow the kids in that situation. That's one way. I call that to circle the wagons. The second option would be to do what you see some businesses do when they're losing market share. And that is to invest in research and development, what I would call look at some ways to be more innovative and potentially draw some of the students in our county and in our area to something that better suits their needs. That may work, that may not work. The other option is that option could also, you just say, we want the very best for our kids. And so we need to do everything in our power with the kids that are here and are staying. We need to double down and focus on those kids and invest in whatever we need to make it the best. So I would like to hear from your guys, your thoughts, either on that or on something else of where you would like to see this district head in the 5 to 10 year range, because that's really in the range that I'm going to be working in as our staff works to do everything they can to help the kids that are right in front of them right now.
Brad, can I go a different direction and ask a question?
Sure.
So one of the things, in addition to the declining birth rate that you pointed out, was that we have fewer in-district transfer kids basically over this last year.
Yeah, last 2 years, really, if you wanted to, if you could see it.
So I don't have my reading glasses, so I was about this far away from my laptop checking things out. But it did remind me that I had to dig, in February of 24, changed the process for what our in-district
Yep.
transfer looked like.
Yes.
And then I made Candace figure out how to get me to the minutes, and so I've been digging.
Yep.
Is there any correlation in your head to the process that we've
Yes.
changed? Because we're hearing the
Yep.
capacity in our schools.
Yep.
But we're also, when we, like, I know this summer or late spring, we had to approve how many
Yes.
transfer spots there were in these classrooms. So you know where I'm going here, right?
Yeah.
So I guess my question is did that policy change have an effect on the number of kids from other districts who are coming to Seaman? And is that something that we need to look at?
Unfortunately, it is not something that we can look at because it's by state statute. Here's what I think in the change in policy that did have an impact. I think, as Rob said, there's lots of little factors. I do think that is a little factor that has made an impact. In the past, we allowed families to fill out a out of district transfer, and they could have handed it to us in the end of July. We evaluate it individually and then either accept or deny that student. But more than often than not, we accepted students because as long as it wasn't discriminatory, we accepted it. They moved that date up into May. 31st was the first deadline. I think we had to put out the information. And so I think two things happened there. One is some of those families that are moving from a nearby district are probably not making that decision until they're thinking about it in June, July, August, and maybe haven't gotten around to doing it. You can't do that anymore. You got to make that decision before the end of your current school year and start that process, that application process before that time. The second piece of that I think is you talked about having to put the capacity. Well, we have a formula for capacity. And one of the things we do in that formula is ensure that we're going to have space for anybody that moves into our district has to have space. And so in doing that, there's some grade levels, it's usually up on the high school that don't have space. So when a parent looks at that immediately, even if they were ahead of the curve and ready to put their application on time, if they look at it and go, oh, no space, then they're not going to apply. And so I do think there has been some effect of that. I don't know, I couldn't give you a good idea how much, but when you looked at the out of district transfers that were really consistent for a really long time, and then exactly at that first time they went down a little bit, and the second time they went down again.
Right.
Again, it could be a little bit, well, these aren't moves, so they wouldn't be selling a house. So I do think it had a little bit of an effect.
So that little bit of data he had on that was that all the other school districts are about the same, not very high, right?
That bar graph that you showed, that is just showing where our kids are coming from. And what I noticed in
It
that,
took me a second on
Okay.
that.
yeah, it was a little difficult to read. What I noticed on that is that we are getting a few, really, there's a small number from everybody, everywhere except for Topeka 501. And Auburn Washburn, I think we gained one kid, but
Yeah.
statistically, we were identical. Shawnee Heights actually went down a little bit. So we have less kids now coming from Shawnee Heights than we had before. And I think Topeka, what did it do? It decreased a little bit as well. So the rest of them are so small, it's hard to even draw any conclusions other than Topeka 501. Because that's where the vast majority of our transfers come from. As you would hear, Auburn Washburn would have the same thing, and so would Shawnee Heights. In some cases, they haven't been open in the past, and now they are open. So if you lived in a house in Topeka 501 that was near one of those other two districts, you may be going there instead of coming here now. Because they weren't open in the past.
Well, Marshall Rural may not be open.
Yeah, exactly.
But they said,
Yeah.
I said, that was just something that jumped out to me and I remembered. We had made that change. So.
Yeah, we did, but right now we can't change that back.
So yeah, we can't really, we're not gonna change anything on the numbers. So I guess I go to his summary and looking at the three, I guess, recommendations or whatever that he makes. The one I think that, well, we need to communicate with the public, of
Yes.
course, but the middle one where we analyze utilization of buildings. I mean, if our buildings are only at 70% capacity, what can we do? And Brad, I think this is kind of your wheelhouse. What can we do to set ourselves apart at each building to make that I don't know, for lack of a better way to say it, a destination school.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, I don't know.
One thing, and what you've seen, even with T-Calc and with a lot of the districts that were having declining enrollment, did just that. They said, how do we figure out to give something that's unique, that gives our kids something special that might draw in some kids from others? And so I do think what's really neat about our elementary schools is that they all have character that is unique. And I don't know that you would have to have every single elementary implement something that was the same. You could really capitalize on the strengths of the staff you
Yes.
have there and allow them to have some input to say, what's maybe the non-negotiable is, let's try something unique to try to draw in, but you get to make some choices in
Well,
what that looks like.
At the forefront.
Exactly. That's the key.
Yeah,
You can't change the
and that's what I see.
values.
Because having been in education for a while, I just see that we're at a time, I believe, in our nation and in this district where there's gotta be some shifting going on.
Yeah, we can't stay static.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with you on doing the innovation and doubling down on the kids that we have. I mean, if we draw new kids, cool, but we should really
Yeah,
invest in
right.
the current kids.
On the students we have in our
Yeah.
district.
Right.
Not necessarily trying to draw people from other districts, but
Right.
serving the kids we have.
Yeah.
Well, if you
But
look
if it
at,
draws other kids,
Yes.
that's a plus, or families want to move into our district.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be ideal if people moved in.
I was just saying, the other thing that, and this is kind of addressing that you said was the big problem, is out migration of the elementary kids. So our elementary kids are leaving at a greater rate than they're coming in. And so, you know, obviously the third graders not making a decision about what's happening to their parents, whether that's moving out for jobs or moving to other school districts. But again, if we have a culture of innovation at our elementary schools, that's a great reason for families to want to stay where they're at. Yeah.
A part of that out migration is going to a homeschool, private school. It's not physically moving. It's, they aren't going to our school.
Right,
anymore.
but again,
So,
like, yes,
so
yes.
the main thing we can do that will get parents to have their kids go to our school is we excel at the 3 R's.
Absolutely.
The rest of it doesn't matter at all. If we teach them how to read, write, and arithmetic, and the parents will want their students to come to our schools. That's where the rubber hits the road for me. So
I say, amen.
I just think that is so important. That's the whole reason we are here as schools, to teach our kids those basics. The rest of it comes with it, of course, but we have to be the best, the outstanding at those 3 areas. And that will make our people want to go to our schools.
So I'm going to go back to, Jeff, look at page, the in and out migration, which I believe is, 16. Nice. So if you go to page 16, if I looked at this right, look at your elementary schools. Your out migration is fairly consistent. What's decreasing is your in migration.
Right.
So it's not so much that we're, at least over that small span of time. We could go back further and see some stuff and it might enlighten us a little more. But what's evident is the in-migration at elementary has decreased significantly. So I really think if we're talking about what do we need to do, it's about the in-migration. Is the other seems to have been pretty consistent.
Anything to do with the new process of people transferring?
Could, certainly could. I will say this, the world is changing and businesses are changing. And if you look at what people talked about on the graduate profile, you're now looking at businesses valuing things that are not information based as much as it was when we were in the, some are calling this the fourth industrial revolution. But 30, 40 years ago, you were valued on what you knew. Now they're putting a value on problem solving, creativity, and those types of skills, the uniquely human skills. Because what we know for sure, 1,000%, is that my wife's a good example. My wife works in a very information heavy. She's an attorney. She writes contracts. She settles cases, blah, 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 blah. She knows all kinds of fancy words. But AI is going to make the work of 10 attorneys be the work of 2 attorneys using AI. That is going to have a significant shift to our workforce dynamics or workforce demographics. You're still going to need a plumber to come to your house and work on the pipes. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And they're going to need all the skills to be the one that you want to call, that dependability, that being able to communicate with you and let you know what happened in your house. Those are things that are going to be invariable, all those durable skills. But my son is in statistics right now, has a math brain like very few people I've ever met. But he will never do math better than AI will. And the AI we have right now is the worst AI you'll ever see. It's only getting better. And it is changing everything from, even my nephew's a welder. He went to, I think, Virginia and welded aircraft carriers together. But you don't see as much welding in, I would love to take this group into places like the new Panasonic plant and some other areas that are putting new buildings together and asking what manufacturing is looking like now, because it is much less labor intensive. A robot can weld more accurately than a human, and it can even have a sensor on it to tell you if it was off, even the slightest amount, and know that that wasn't satisfactory and I need to redo it. I say the word they act stupidly human.
The AI inspection capabilities are crazy. I would love to take this whole group and go tour the manufacturing campus at Wichita State.
Oh,
It is
yep.
brilliant what's happening in manufacturing. Chris, we should road trip. You'd love it. It's so cool. But it's all AI. They're running that entire place, lights out. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't need skilled manufacturing workforce
Exactly.
to
Different
assist.
skills though.
It's a different skill set.
No, 100%.
Sorry, soapbox.
No, it's where you have expertise, and that's one of the beautiful things about this board is different people have different areas of expertise. But this may be the quickest change. You know, you've heard, oh, these computers are going to change things, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be so efficient that we're going to work 20 hours a week, right? I'm not sure they don't make us less efficient. By playing solitaire or whatever else on them, yes. But AI is different than computers. It's different than the internet because it is changing how business does its work. And I don't want to get into a lot of projections. I'd rather us just go out into business and see what we need to prepare our kids for. And then say, what do we need to do in our district, which maybe it is the same things we've been doing and doing better, or is it something we need to do different in order to meet?
So
Make sure our students are successful. Go ahead.
Are you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
At some point, we look at 4 elementary schools instead of 5.
I don't really feel like,
I'm just,
you don't see me stutter very often, do you? I'm stuttering on that one because
just,
the numbers are there.
Yeah.
The efficiency is there. Which one would you
I don't know.
close?
It should,
I don't either.
I'm just, is that something?
But
It's that unique characteristics of every elementary that is so hard on that one for me. Do I think we need to move 6th graders up to the middle school? No, not if it includes building extra space on middle school.
Right.
Because I think we have spaces in our elementaries for that. And
But when all of our buildings are at, they're not at capacity, whatever.
And I will tell you, I won't say optimum because the more you put in, the more you can get some economies of scale. But typically when you think about staffing in elementary, you think about a fourth section building being a kind of a nice sweet spot. We have 3 sections and 2 sections right now. So yeah, we could be more efficient, but
But
again,
what would that get us to close an element?
well,
Like,
here's what
what would we gain?
you cannot consolidate your two section buildings anyway, because neither one of those buildings would hold a fourth section building. It would be a lot of upheaval, so I don't know the answer to that.
Too, because 70% is utilization is further out. We're not there right now.
Right.
According to the report, right? So there's still things that we as a board and that we as a school district can do to start affecting some change so that we maybe don't hit this scenario that allows us to have to make hard decisions that we don't want to make. So we gotta flip the script a little
Well,
bit.
but
Yeah.
you have to think about what's happening in education, what needs to happen in education. Every student needs to know how to read. Every student needs to know math. At least basic math to get by on life. Every student should know the history of our nation. Every student should have basic science skills. So those are non-negotiables. But beyond that, thinking about building personalities, if you will. How can we go in, how can the teachers and the staff and this principal at a building say, what can we do here to enhance our kids' work in those core subjects, I guess. I don't know, just thinking out loud. Without shutting any
I don't
buildings.
Want to solve any problems tonight. I just wanted
Do
to
that.
plant a few seeds with you.
Buildings.
But these are some of the things that the work we do looks 5 to 10 years down the road, sometimes 15, but that's getting even more and more difficult to project what 15 years looks like than it used to be. But when we start thinking 5 to 10,
Yes.
that's the work of the board and superintendent. While we have an absolutely amazing staff that's actually sitting out there right now that takes care of the day-to-day work of what do we need to improve in the here and now. Which in the here and now, you know where our current goals are for our strategic plan. Every kid should read, right? That we need every kid to excel in an area. I mean, those are our right now. That doesn't change. But what do we need to do to ensure we're just as relevant 5 to 10 years from now as we are right now or were 5 to 10 years earlier? That's, I think, the essential question for you guys. And I think our enrollment is a point of data, but I think it's a point of data that says it's worth thinking about it now. What do we need to do to be the very best? All right. Good discussion.
Moving forward,
Okay.
Yes.
Lisa, budget, LOB.
Soon, we'll solve everybody's problems. You're so funny. Okay, so the first one is the LOB percentage, to adopt that. And this was something that we had done initially in February of 2020. You went from the 32% to 33%. And part of that resolution states that you have to annually give permission to utilize the original authorization from February of 2020. So this is just having you guys reauthorize us to use what was agreed upon in 2020.
You need a motion.
Do you want to read it first and then you could move to adopt it?
Sure. Another resolution. USD 345 resolution number 2025-0908. Be it resolved that the above named school board shall be authorized to make a local option percentage in an amount of 33% for the 2025-2026 school year. And I make a motion to approve the local option budget by resolution certifying 33%.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question.
I figured you would, Kyle.
So what is the max allowed by the state?
33,
It is 33.
and that's what we've been for, well, since 2020.
Yeah, I thought it was a little more than that, but
No, can't do more than 33.
okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? Questions? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And FY 26 budget.
We just ask that the board approve the budget that was presented to them last month. For the 25-26 fiscal year,
With what?
for the 25-26 fiscal year, the budget.
Oh, okay.
With a total mill levy of
51.452.
And last year we were 50.
1.466.
At this
So,
time.
I
On
would
that,
call that pretty close to level.
Mhm.
on the code 99, you'll see actual
Yeah, that's
Which is
after
the
the.
51.209.
Since valuation.
But apples to apples, last year you were approving 51.466 based on those estimations that the county gives us that are higher than.
Gotcha.
I make a motion to approve the budget as presented for the fiscal year. I can't say the word fiscal year 26, 2025, 26. Oh, good Lord. Hold on.
Have certain words in it.
All right.
Give me the words.
Yep.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to adopt the fiscal year 26 budget based on the review of building needs assessment and state assessment data that were provided to the board and evaluated by the board during the budget approval process.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
Only thing I would add is the reason to read it like that is in our minutes. It is required. Remember that session we had with principals came in and we reviewed the needs assessment and state assessments, and so that's why that has to be in the minutes. So Candace has to have you read that specific one.
I just hate diligent. I have a really hard time getting around it. So.
Paper copy.
All right.
All right, it has been moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Disposition of business by consent. Need a motion.
So.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's see, curriculum and instruction, Megan.
Thank you. Good evening. Jeff, as we get started today, I'm going to begin with the first paragraph, which was on district literacy supports. And so Jeff's bringing up a document right behind me, which is the first hyperlink within that section. I wanted to highlight this evening for two reasons. One, last month I spoke to our standards alignment steps that we were taking in order to meet our KISA goal. Well, our second KISA goal is aligned to structured literacy. And when we talk about structured literacy and literacy within the district, a component of that is the different supports that we have in the area of dyslexia. So a little bit more background for you, even taking a step back. The scope of curriculum and instruction is very, very broad. So to support teachers and principals in the district, I have a curriculum and instructional handbook that kind of keeps everything organized and in one place so that as staff members have questions that come up related to curriculum and instruction, they can find and locate those materials. So in the area of literacy and dyslexia support, I recently developed the document that we're going to look at to be a part of the district's instructional handbook, really just as a guide through the lens of dyslexia. What is it that we have in place? What is our, different supports that we have at different levels? So that's what we're taking a look at today. Just a document that I developed to help teachers and principals really understand everything that we have going on in the district, just at a glance, all in one page. So the first page of this dyslexia overview and training document really just is the background of the why. Why do we have different supports in place? Well, we have requirements from KSDE in the area of dyslexia. There's a whole dyslexia handbook in place with guidelines that we have to follow, such as having a screener tool in place, which is FastBridge, and then having adopted curriculum, which is our Amplify CKLA. So really what I wanted you to see was the second page of this document, Jeff. If you keep scrolling, you can go back and take a look at everything if you would like. But when we think of dyslexia, I put it in terms of our overall MTSS system. And when we talk about MTSS or multi-tiered systems of support, it's that you have things that are in place for everyone across the board. And I have my little lingo on the side. So we have tier 1 supports, which are available for all. Everyone is getting these. And then we have some supports that some students are getting and teachers are providing. And then we have some that are available for few. So that's just what you see there on the left-hand side that kind of explains what you are looking at. But what we have in place for building quality literacy instruction and supporting the training and development of skills to support students with dyslexia is our CKLA core resource that I've already mentioned. We also provide annual dyslexia training per KSDE's regulations. So all of our teachers that are identified by KSDE as needing annual training, they receive that. And then also, as you know, through our structured literacy goal, we are ensuring that our elementary staff all receive the letters training or have proven through one of the qualified measures that they have that. So that's kind of what we are making sure we have in place for all across the entire district. I'm not going to dive into each of our tier 2 supports. They're up there for you to see. And like I said, really this is designed to be helpful for our teachers and our principals to see at a glance. But what's in our tier 2 are some of our different resources or supplemental tools that we have available to further support our students who need a little bit more with regards to reading literacy skills. So some of these are provided through Deidre and her special education team. So I'm not going to dive too deeply into those. Others are provided through our general education process through the tier 2 time that happens in the building for students based off of the screening results that come through FastBridge. And then finally, our tier 3 support is a highly targeted resource called LIPS that we have an in-district trainer for. And it's a training that is designated to support students who need additional literacy supports, but especially those students with dyslexia. And it's with LIPS that this year you can see some of the highlighted information that I have there. We really want to come back to LIPS and make sure that we have more staff trained across all buildings in this particular tool. So right now we have some trained within our special education department. We want to ensure that all of our interventionists and instructional coaches are trained in it as well. So we have some training goals kind of across the board in this area, but that encompasses kind of what we are doing for our structured literacy goal and really honed into the area of dyslexia. So I know that's a little bit longer from me than I usually take, but was kind of excited to put together this comprehensive view. So any questions on that? Yes.
So back to our letters.
Yes.
I've asked about these
Yes.
probably too many times. So it's going to be the 28-29 school year before we implement the letters training?
We are currently implementing it. It's July 1st of 2028 that the licensure requirement is established by the state. So for any staff member that goes to renew their license after July of 2028, they need to have proof of structured literacy, science of reading, understanding, either through letters, and that's predominantly what teachers are doing. There's an additional college course that is being offered by Kansas universities, as well as a praxis exam that they could take.
So our teachers, our elementary teachers are using letters right now?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yes, we have many who have been trained
Right.
over the past several years. I can pull those numbers back out and put our updated numbers in an upcoming board brief, just so you can see. But we have a group of cohort that just started their trainings this year as well. So
But they aren't frontline teachers,
they
Yeah.
are,
but
yes.
they're still teaching letters in the classroom.
They are, so.
Or using that
It's-
curriculum.
Letters
They're
is
using
a
that,
source.
Yes.
right.
Letters is a training.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
But they're
strategy.
using the curriculum.
They
Or-
are using the strategies that they
Okay,
learn
very
through
good.
letters. It's,
Okay.
it's kind of, it's an information on first, like the brain and how our brains learn to read, and then how we can take that science of the brain and actually put it to use in the classroom, using that information to help students learn how to read and the best effective tools in order to do that. That's really kind of the takeaway nutshell of what happens with letters.
For core instruction, it's gonna help our teachers implement CKLA better,
Yes.
is what it'll do. And so, yeah, there are some
We're-
being trained who have been trained already. There are some that are currently in the middle of the
I mean, it's
training.
a 2-year process.
Yeah, it's a multiple year process to get it all done with all of our staff.
But yeah, so good. I was concerned that we weren't using that philosophy or that whatever you want to
Oh.
call
The,
it.
the resource that we have is built on the science of reading.
Okay.
But
Yes.
the more important than having the resource is having the trained teacher. That is the person that makes that resource
Sure.
come to life. But we have always had well, not always, we've had a resource aligned to the science of reading since several years.
We are finishing up our 5th year of CKLA. So
So what percent of our students, do you have a percent that have dyslexia or are dyslexic, I guess I would say?
that's a good question. And so we don't identify dyslexia. We do screening for dyslexia. So our screeners can show students who are at risk.
Okay.
But we aren't necessarily going to know that unless a family goes and uses an outside source in order to have a dyslexic disorder or dyslexic identifier diagnosis. That's the word that I am
Okay,
going for.
okay.
But really what I'm showing here is that whether a student has dyslexia or not, dyslexia at the root of it is really just quality reading instruction.
Right.
And so we have all of these things in place to ensure that we have quality reading instruction, including resources that support the gaps that typically happen with a student who or an area of need with dyslexia, as well as students with all sorts of at-risk needs when it comes to reading. Does that answer your question? So no, we don't have, I can't say this is our percentage of students, but I can say that regardless of the percentage of students, whether they have dyslexia or not, we have the resources and tools in place in order
And
to.
this is just an illustration of an overall huge workbook that you've created that shows our teachers what the resources are for a multitude of things.
Yes.
This is kind of an example of
Yes.
that.
Yeah, so I was trying to capture in a one pager, here are the different things that we have in place to support literacy across the board, including our dyslexic students.
One thing I would say is not every district has the amazing documentation of our resources like what Megan has produced.
Thank you, Megan.
I kind of like to be organized. Really quickly, I have one other thing I wanted to highlight, if I may. And that is just on the bottom of page 3. On the topic of MTSS and the supports that we have the privilege of being able to partner with KSDE's TASN network, which is the Technical Assistant System Network, in order to provide professional learning to our building administrators this year, specifically first semester, and then expand this potentially to building leadership teams into second semester. So what I didn't highlight in here that I want to be sure and share with you is that this is a free partnership. We are not paying anything in order to receive this professional learning. It is provided through KSD's partnership with TASN, and it's really designed for us to take a moment, bring our building leaders together, look at what we have in place for reading, math, all of our supports. How is our current MTSS implementation going? How can we continue to leverage our leadership, leverage our tools in order to improve and realign in this area? So hot off the press, I just got the agenda for what we're going to be doing on our first leadership day, which is coming up later this month. And some of the focus on that day and I geek out over professional learning, but it looks like it's going to be just some really great topics for our leadership team, including the importance of clear, relevant, and timely communication in a school district, the role of a district leadership team and how they can support, using initiative inventories within a district, using data, including subgroup data when making district decisions, and the purpose of conducting a root cause analysis. And it might have been root cause analysis that really got me going. So
What trainer is coming out?
so this is with Amy De La Rosa is our key one, but I think other members of her team come with. So yeah, we're excited to work with Amy and Tazza. So
You're really good.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Any other questions?
Miss Deidre, Special Services Report.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to talk about my audit. So the first thing, I feel like I'm Lisa talking about an audit up here, but I'm not. That's what an audit. So each year, the special education department completes a personnel categorical aid report, and then KSDE audits that report every year. So our audit just came back this month in August, and I'd like to share some of the results with you. You guys can look at this page, the entitlements. That's the page that I will be talking about. It's an attachment within my report. So the audit ensures that our personnel are properly certified, licensed, accounted for properly, and of course trained. And it determines our funding for the special education department for staff every year. So my assistant Karen helps work with the HR department and the budget department quite a bit for this report. It seems like it would be kind of simple because every staff would be 1.0 FTE. However, there are several staff members, certified staff, that are not 1.0 FTE for special education. All of our Mathis Early Learning Center staff are a percentage based on a formula of how many students on IEPs are in their classroom. We take a snapshot twice a year, and then we average that to get a percentage FTE. They might be 56% FTE, and then their paras that work underneath them are the same FTE as well. We also have a good handful of related service providers that are that report time and effort. Time and effort is a percentage of time that you work with the students with IEPs versus times you work with students with our general education students. So that would be, we have a couple social workers that are part regular education, so their time and effort. All of our nurses complete time and effort. Our elementary counselors complete time and effort. They are not 100% FTE. The interesting part about it is reports due May 1st. And so this school year, we haven't worked the month of May. And so it's always an estimate. When we finish that report and hit submit May 1st, 2025, it's an estimate of what we think is going to happen in May. So if you look at the entitlements page that I gave you, if you look at the very top line, regular teachers, FTE claims 78.59. That's what we claimed, but actually it was 78.66, a 0.07 adjustment, and which was pretty on target. I mean, I'm like, wow, yeah, 0.07 away from the total adjustment. And then we have regular age, which is our special education para educators, and there was a small 1.77, negative 1.77 adjustment as well. So if you see at the bottom, the total adjustment was $19,000 out of an almost $4 million budget. I think that's pretty good. So I'm pleased with our audit this year. So do you have any questions about any of that? Okay, thank you.
Thanks for you.
Thank you. It's Marty's turn. Marty, hello.
I'm here to
Marty?
mention with you a couple, yes.
Can I go back to Deidre real quick? Is that
Okay.
okay, Madam President?
Absolutely.
Okay. You can answer from back there. So the 19 grand that we were underpaid, right?
Overpaid.
We were overpaid.
Well, we were overpaid.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yep. If we were underpaid, we wouldn't get it back if that was your
That was
question.
my question.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
wouldn't get it back if we were under.
But we don't have to pay that back, or do we?
Yes.
We
Yes,
do
we
that?
do. When you
Okay.
get your-
We, as it adjusts, they'll
Yeah.
adjust it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So
It's amazing how the money only goes one direction.
yeah, isn't it? We ought to talk.
You know anybody?
Maybe, maybe somebody, maybe. Early graduation, there are 25 requests that you guys have, all pretty compelling stories. They will all be on track to be able to meet the criteria they need to December. And they, of course, would have the opportunity to participate in the graduation ceremony if they wanted to in May. You also have 3 of the 21 credit waivers, and those are students that would meet the requirements of Senate Bill 23, which there are some specific things on that. And they will all be still going until the end of the school year, but all have stories that very much warrant going with that. You guys will vote on this next month, so you'll have the month to take a look. And certainly if you have questions, reach out to Mr. Wilson or myself, and we'll be able to get you whatever answers you need. Any questions for me? You're gonna wait till I sit down, aren't you?
Marty.
Lance, facility and grounds reports.
What the hell?
Oh, no.
Just wanted to go over the summer months of what we did over the June, July and August. We did the beginning of the summer, we started with our HVAC replacement with 4 units. High school, we put up screens so that you could actually see going towards the east, so you're not blinded.
It's actually really
That's
nice.
a big request from the teachers and the administration.
Yeah.
And then the big one was the studio room where we remodeled that whole thing, and she actually has a bigger classroom and she's been.
What will they do in that room? Is that the media room?
Yes.
It's
Oh,
BTV,
okay.
but they
I'm
took the
with you.
stage out, or there used to be a stage up there, and
So.
the green room.
I
or
get
the-
it. Green.
So she has more
Morning
classroom. and-
news that you-
Got it.
Yeah,
Whatever the.
it's BTV.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was really cool.
High school roof,
Ooh.
showed you guys that. I tried to get you guys up there, but nobody wanted to go.
I didn't get
It's not
that.
true.
Nobody asked me.
Schedule issue.
Softball sidewalks, got it around finally right where the. You know,
Some nice sidewalks.
kindergarten playground, we extended it clear out.
Ew. Oh,
Those were really cute.
they are cute little tires.
Yeah, we saw that.
And we had.
The ice, we switched the asphalt to concrete, so now it's all smooth and.
It
got
looked
that
really, really
replaced.
good.
Nice.
West Union Mill, it's 100%.
Wow.
Complete.
Pretty.
And then the orchestra room, which used to be, I tried to get, yeah.
Yeah, it looks
So
like.
this is
yeah.
the bottom picture of what it looked like. And
That's
then
crazy.
We redid the floor and then painted it all up. It's quite good now.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's super pretty.
Nice job.
And then the concrete work in front of the middle school, where we was starting to heave up, we couldn't open doors, got that done beginning of summer. And then this is where Kyle comes in. This is our drains that we had replaced in the middle of the hallway, right outside the band room and the music room. We found 3 cracks. We replaced the 2 major ones. So it was quite interesting on that one. And then the second, the last is we put cabinets in Northern Hills' music room. She didn't have enough cabinet space. And then the last one, you can't see it, is the light and sound at the middle school. We got it all done, and then we got the sound at the high school,
Yay.
which I'm sure most of you
Yay. That's
will
great.
do the lights this upcoming summer. So, but yeah, we got it. It's coming. It just won't be this.
Disappointing.
I know, but I tried. You get it all.
I'm harassing.
Give a mouse a cookie.
Most importantly, I will not be attacked by that water fountain anymore. I'm very excited about it.
I wish I could have put all watching videos, but yes, it'll be fixed by tomorrow. So. Any questions?
Nice.
I have a question, Mr. Wilson. Have you asked Lance about, the report I asked you about for like facility use?
I have not, but you can ask him and that'll be a wonderful thing, because unless I did, I'll tell you if I did. But I don't remember the report, so I probably didn't.
Okay. We had conversations about changing our facility use process. And, you know, all, how people decide. Request, we get a report on how that's going
Oh, yeah.
next time. About what that process looks like, how many people are utilizing it.
Actually, we've had more people utilize it, and then we've got money we are putting back into. For like the netting and everything for the schools. We actually just had our first incident at WI, and some of that money will go back in to fix little petty damage to the restrooms. So, but yeah, it's.
Lance, do you know if Aaron could maybe pull the numbers?
Mhm.
Please ask her, see if that's a report that she can get from there.
I use the facility use thing a lot. It's handy.
Nice.
Do you think our usage has gone up?
Yes, it has.
That's what I
For
heard.
minutes.
That's awesome.
But we're not getting three teams showing up at the same time. Now it's, nobody's arguing. 2 years ago, we had 4 teams show up soccer field. 3 of them had it, 1 didn't. He went and it was, so he didn't know.
You would have thought they would have just played soccer to see who could be on there, but instead it ended up being an MMA.
Oh, goodness.
The Octagon, do we have one of those out there?
We didn't. The other thing is I didn't realize how many out of district. We're starting to have a lot of people out of Kansas City coming in and using our soccer field.
Kansas.
Wow.
Places, yeah, turf place to practice. Well, and some of it's just the coaches too. There's a lot of teams
Well,
based out of the Topeka area, but it's
Topeka
coached by us. Yeah, exactly.
So it's just there, we didn't realize how many,
Yeah.
but Kansas City was the farthest one so far. So,
I said, I just like to kind of see the data, if we can pull the reports. Thank you.
Thanks, Lance.
Sorry about that.
Well, I think we talked about it briefly on our tours and.
Oh.
You're good.
Who's up? Considering bids.
It's Marty.
Marty.
We're starting to
The
lose.
first one is for 5 shades, one for each of the elementary buildings. And this has been on the long-range facility plan for several years. And we finally just got to the point where this was the year that we were planning on doing it. We actually planned on it this summer, but had some issues getting the bid, got the bid. And we are hoping that you would approve the bid for the construction of the 5 shades, the materials and the concrete pads for a total of $116,125. Each one of the buildings will get the same.
So that's 116 per building.
No, total for the 5 buildings
So
together.
5 of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Plus the pad.
Plus the pad.
that is with the pad.
That's
Yeah.
Nice.
95 or it's 90,625 for the shades and the frames and 20,500 for the concrete pads.
So Jeff, can you go back 1 page, please? So where will it,
Right?
like at each build, where will they put it? Over,
Are they,
Over the,
do you know? if they're
isn't
putting
it going over the slides and stuff?
No.
Huh?
It's
20 by 20
Yeah,
and 12 feet tall, so is it like?
it won't be over any of the.
Probably just this needed area.
Yeah.
Cause at any given time, the shade falls like that picture there on the lower right.
Exactly.
The
Where-
shade is actually outside
Correct.
shade structure.
Yep.
Yep.
So I think it's not over anything in particular, just a space for
Correct.
kids to find some shade.
Correct.
Deck area.
So I guess, why do we need this? Because our kids are out of school before it really gets hot and we start school when it's, so is this for people in the summertime that may want to use our playgrounds, have shade? I just.
That's a good question. This has been a request from the buildings for longer than I've been here.
It's for the beginning of school and a little bit the end of school, but especially gets hot at the beginning of school. And there are just some kids that don't want to stand in the sun.
Yeah.
And this gives those kids a place to play that's not in the sun.
Okay.
And it's not just heat, it's the sunshine as well.
If somebody lives in Kansas, they ought to know it's hot in the summertime.
Okay, but Kyle, we also have kids who have some disabilities who maybe can't move around, like, but they just install some stuff with that. You know, like for some of our kids in wheelchairs, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that you might not be able to be outside in full sun all the time.
Lance.
Can you use the mic?
So part of the wood thing was that most of it is classroom. There's a lot of outside classroom. So they don't want to sit out there in the sun. They can actually get underneath the vehicle, do a classroom setting so they can just get out, get some fresh air. The other one is the thing you have, which or the Elmwood where plug-in. We got 3 or 4 that for baby shape.
Sure, we got the special swings and
Yes.
some things we put up.
That's, but I have a lot of it, gotten a lot of handicap here. And it's helpful for that. But a lot of it is classroom settings.
I'm not worried about our classroom settings, you know, that's yours, that doesn't matter. If they want to go outside, they go outside. I will agree with the handicap part. Yes,
But this has been a part of our long range plan. We fit in there.
Yes. Yeah.
So when will this be done?
If you guys approve it, we'll get them.
It'll start now.
Yep.
So.
I move that we accept the bid for the shade structures as presented.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
I
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. SEC repairs, what's happening in this building?
Okay, let me tell you the story. You're not aware, this is the original building. So was it a couple weeks ago, we had a deluge occur in the basement. Food service is no longer located in the basement.
Here, they're stuck back here in the corner and the third.
They are, we have them entirely too close to Lisa and they've asked for her to be moved. But that's a whole separate issue. So this has been an ongoing issue, but this was significantly worse than it had been. And Lance and I looked, and then we had some real professionals come take a look. And we can see that there are some areas where the concrete has dropped probably 3 or 4 inches. And it is pouring into the building in the basement. Now, to excavate and then go ahead and fix this would be $24,497. Now, here's where I'm going to caution you. The folks, and we were a little bit concerned of this. If you were, some of you remember, for about 2.5 years, they were doing construction on this intersection out here. And those of us that were in the building could feel the building shake the whole time they were doing that. Probably not good on a 100-year-old building. Now, the only thing that we would say is this. This is to investigate and potentially fix the problem. What they're not going to know is what it's going to cost until they get down and they get the ground excavated. If it's something that they can fix and seal and everything's good, that's the most that it will cost. If it's something different, if it's less than $20,000, because that would be a separate work order, that would be okay. We'll go ahead and have that done. If it's more than $20,000, we'll need to come back to you guys and say, hey, you know, to fix this, it's going to be more than $20,000. And unfortunately.
What are you gonna say then when the sidewalk's all tore out?
Yeah.
I'll leave it
Yeah,
like that?
do we
Well,
need
we'll
to
probably
have?
ask for a special meeting.
That's
That's
what I'm saying, a special meeting, so we don't
Yeah.
have a giant hole that
That would be-
makes the
We're hoping
problem.
is that this fixes it, or it's less than $20,000. Otherwise, you guys will get to disrupt another. Or
Unless you want to give a authorization to Lance of up to a certain amount.
right,
We
Which you're-
could peel in the basement, make it into a pool. We have a swim team.
we could.
People wanted us.
Moving right along.
That's right.
Driving team maybe.
How would you do that?
Does
up
anybody
to a
oppose to
certain
do that?
point?
Well, I mean, we could just set a limit and then. if
And then
it was
have to
50,000
meet?
No, if we gave them authorization to go up to 50,000,
Right,
then we wouldn't have to meet.
but
we
if
would
it
have-
was above that.
We have to meet
Well,
regardless.
and if it's about, if you approve the 24,497 and a dollar amount above that, whatever that amount is, to say it's 50,000 or whatever. If it's another $50,000, we're probably going to need to meet with you anyway, because that
That's some major
indicates
work.
something more significantly wrong that we may want to rethink how we want to approach that.
Are we good if we just approve the 24 and then meet if we have to?
I said,
Yeah,
you're good
that's
with that.
Okay.
Second.
Did I just make the motion? Just made the
In
motion.
a roundabout.
Better make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the SEC repairs as presented. There's your official motion.
Second.
Let's,
Oh, Kyle got it. Kyle can do it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. We have hit executive session, so I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to the exception relating to personnel matters of non-elected personnel, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom no later than
give us oops, maybe 5 after 8:05.
no later than 8:05, and I'm inviting Brad, Marty, Tanner.
Second.
All in favor, raise your
Aye.
hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.